They recorded more than 140 hours of interviews, footage, and background material, yet what the public saw was only a carefully trimmed version of events. Now, long after the credits rolled, the deeper story of what was uncovered is slowly pushing its way into the light. When the documentary centered on Sean Diddy Combs finally aired, many viewers felt like they were witnessing a closing chapter, a definitive expose that wrapped everything up. It carried the tone of finality, as if the truth had at last been told, but that sense of completion was an illusion. Behind the scenes, some of the most disturbing revelations never made it to the screen. The true architects of Diddy's empire were left unnamed. Persistent rumors of darker actions were reduced to vague hints. Autopsy findings were quietly excluded. Alleged leaked material that could force a total reassessment of the past was never addressed. The question that now hangs in the air is simple but unsettling. What exactly was kept from the audience, and why? To understand the weight of what was omitted, you have to go back to a winter night in December 1999. Inside Club New York, what began as a celebration quickly spiraled into chaos. Diddy was there with Jennifer Lopez, surrounded by industry figures and partygoers. At some point, an argument broke out after a man named Matthew "Scar" Allen reportedly threw money in Diddy's face. Tempers flared, voices rose. According to later witness accounts, the confrontation escalated dramatically. Gunshots rang out in the crowded club. A woman named Natanya Rubin was struck in the face, a bullet lodging in her cheek. Panic followed. People ran for cover. In the aftermath, an official version of events was constructed and repeated so often it hardened into accepted fact. But that version has always had cracks. What happened next raised even more questions. Rather than calling for medical assistance or waiting for authorities, Diddy and Lopez reportedly fled the scene. Their departure wasn't quiet or discreet. A high-speed chase through Manhattan followed, with the vehicle running multiple stop signs as NYPD patrol cars pursued them. When police finally stopped the car, a gun was allegedly recovered, one that authorities said had been stolen. This sequence of events has fueled debate for decades. Critics ask a straightforward question: if someone is truly innocent, why flee in panic? Why risk making the situation worse? Diddy's legal team framed the incident as a coincidence layered with confusion, a misunderstanding blown out of proportion. But Natanya Rubin, the woman who was shot and still carries the bullet to this day, has consistently rejected that explanation. She has publicly stated that she saw the muzzle flash. In her account, there is no uncertainty about who fired the weapon. Then there is the matter of accountability. While Diddy walked free, the consequences fell on someone else. The rapper Shine was arrested, tried, and ultimately convicted, serving nearly 10 years in prison. From the beginning, Shine maintained that he was framed, that he was used as a shield to protect a far more powerful figure. Over the years, he has repeated this claim, describing himself as a convenient scapegoat in a system that protects wealth and influence. To those who study these events, a pattern seems to emerge. Physical evidence appears, witnesses speak, then behind the scenes, powerful connections are activated, legal strategies shift, narratives are rewritten, the spotlight moves on, and real consequences dissolve. And Diddy's story is not the only one that fits this template. Just weeks before the Club New York shooting, another major figure in hip-hop found himself at the center of a violent incident. Jay-Z. At a record release party for Q-Tip, an executive named Lance Rivera was stabbed. Police reports and witness statements pointed directly at Jay-Z, alleging he used a 5-inch blade during the altercation. The incident sent shockwaves through the industry, yet the aftermath was surprisingly muted. Adding to the controversy, another man stepped forward around the same time. Delgado claimed that about a year earlier, Jay-Z had smashed a bottle over his head during a separate confrontation. At the time, Delgado didn't report the incident, but after the Rivera stabbing made headlines, he decided to speak publicly. He described Jay-Z as someone who needed to be humbled, suggesting a history of unchecked aggression. Despite these accusations, the legal fallout was minimal. Perhaps most chilling is how Jay-Z himself later spoke about the stabbing. Rather than expressing regret, he framed it as a turning point, a lesson. He described it as the greatest thing ever for his personal growth, saying it taught him to move differently and more cautiously. To critics, that statement revealed a stark contrast in styles between two moguls who rose from the same culture. One learned to disappear into the shadows, the other continued to thrive in the spotlight. This contrast has been emphasized by figures like 50 Cent, who have hinted publicly that that Jay-Z may actually be more dangerous than Diddy, not because he is louder or more reckless, but because he is calculated, reserved, and strategic. In this framing, Diddy becomes the flashy frontman, the visible face absorbing attention and controversy, while others operate quietly behind the scenes, shaping outcomes without drawing scrutiny. The network, according to these claims, extends far beyond the music industry. Diddy's public associations included multiple US presidents. Photographs show him alongside Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, and Donald Trump at various events. These images raise uncomfortable questions. Why would leaders from across the political spectrum align themselves so openly with a figure surrounded by persistent controversy? What was exchanged in those relationships? Access, influence, cultural capital. Inside Diddy's inner circle, the picture becomes even murkier. Leaked clips from private parties over the years have surfaced, showing an array of famous faces. Usher, Kevin Hart, and a notably young Justin Bieber among them. The atmosphere in these videos struck many viewers as unsettling. In one particularly discussed clip, Kevin Hart is seen urgently telling cameras to stop recording. The reaction appeared frantic, as if something just outside the frame could not be allowed to surface. Observers asked the obvious question: what was happening that caused such immediate concern? Diddy himself added fuel to the fire through his own words. On national television, he joked about locking ladies up during his parties, framing it as humor. Yet other videos circulating online showed women appearing visibly impaired, raising serious concerns about consent and safety. For years, these moments were dismissed as excess, wild partying, or misunderstood jokes. Only now are people asking how such behavior went unchecked for so long. When you peel back the layers further, the implications grow darker. In casual interviews, Diddy has made offhand comments about his relationship with Justin Bieber during the singer's early years in the industry. At the time, these remarks were brushed off as awkward humor. In hindsight, within the broader context of leaked footage and testimony, they sound less like jokes and more like warning signs, small hints pointing to a troubling dynamic that was never properly examined. What becomes clear is that none of this was hidden in a secret underground society. It unfolded openly, in plain sight. The protection came not from secrecy, but from power, money, influence, celebrity, and a system that benefits from looking away. The greatest illusion was convincing the public that what they were seeing was harmless, exaggerated, or normal. So where does that leave things now? The documentary that sparked renewed interest was not an ending, but a beginning. Those 140 hours of recorded material represent a map, a rough blueprint of how influence operates and shields itself. As more pieces surface and more connections are examined, the structure of that power is becoming harder to ignore. If this analysis helped connect the dots for you, if it reframed events you thought you understood, then make it count. Signal to the algorithm that this matters. Hit the like button, subscribe, and stay tuned. This story isn't finished. It's only just beginning.